just like right near the end. It's like one before last paragraph. We'll start from there today. I'll give you a moment to find that. I'll sing the invocation prayer. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 hey. Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam. So we're just coming to the end of this pastime, of course, and Krishna has delivered the wives of the Brahmanas, and now the Brahmanas themselves are feeling regretful. So we'll just finish this last couple of paragraphs before moving on to the next chapter. So I hand over to Jai Prakash Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, because he has appeared as a child in the dynasty of the Yadus, we were so foolish that we could not understand that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Brahmins said, but on the other hand, we are very proud because we have such exalted wives who have developed pure transcendental service of the Lord without being shackled by our rigid opposition. Let us therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, under whose illusory energy called Maya we are absorbed in fruitive activities. We therefore pray to the Lord to be kind enough to excuse us because we are simply captivated by his external energy. We transgressed his order without knowing his transcendental glories.
This paragraph, it summarizes all of the lessons that we learned from this chapter. Yeah. So in here we've got first of all that they didn't understand that Krishna was they heard that Krishna was the Supreme Lord, but they found it difficult to accept because he was born in a family, the dynasty of the Yadus. He was a Yadunandan. Huh? But we understand from our scriptures that Krishna can be born any family. It does not matter. He can choose where he takes his birth. And that family becomes glorious. Huh? So that was their misunderstanding. And because of that, they're saying that they're feeling shackled. Huh? Or sorry, they're saying, so that was about the wives. The wives are literally shackled to Krishna's service, right? So they're on one hand feeling bad that they didn't appreciate Krishna as a Supreme Lord, and on the other hand they're feeling pleased because their wives did. So the other instruction from this story is that again, the devotees are very important. They play a very important role in our lives in giving us Krishna. Without the devotees, it's not possible to get Krishna. So in that way, they're appreciating their wives who've given them Krishna because of their misunderstanding. Instead, they were too busy with their sacrifices. So the final instruction I've picked up from here is, of course, there's different types of sacrifices. There's sacrifices which can be done for material ends, or which can be done for a spiritual end. And in this case, their sacrifice was, as it says, fruitive activities. That means fruitive, whenever Prabhupada writes that, he means it's materialistic. Meaning like there's a material desire. You want to get the fruit of your activity. You want to get the fruit of the seeds that you sow. The desire that you sow in your heart, you want the fruits of that. And that means it's a material activity. So they are saying we were very much an illusion because of, being so interested in the intricacies of the sacrifice. We didn't even realize that the Lord of the sacrifice who we're offering this to has personally come. because we're so captivated by all those rituals. So the lesson we learned was it's more important to know the goal of why we're doing things, what the goal of life is, than to know how to do everything well. If you know the goal, then you will be motivated to learn the activities that come along with achieving that goal. If you just know how to do activities without any means or any goal, then where are we going in our life? Like the case was with these brahmanas. Okay. So we can continue to the next paragraph unless there's comments or questions.
The Brahmins repented their sinful activities. They wanted to go personally to offer their obeisances unto him. But being afraid of Kamsa, they could not go to Krishna and surrender unto him. In other words, it is very difficult for one to surrender fully unto the personality of Godhead without being purified by devotional service. The example of the learned Brahmins and their wives is vivid. The wives of the Brahmins, because they were inspired by pure devotional service, did not care for any kind of opposition. They immediately went to Krishna. But the Brahmins, although they had come to know the supremacy of the Lord and were repenting, but they were still afraid of King Kamsa because they were too much addicted to fruitive activities. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 23rd chapter of Krishna, delivering the wise of Brahmins who perform sacrifices.
Thank you, Prabhu. So what does this paragraph teach us, everyone? If you could give your input.
I think it teaches us about surrendering, because if you're not fully surrendered to Krishna, then you don't have that faith that Krishna is going to protect you. Whereas the Brahmana's wives, they had full surrender, full faith in Krishna, that no matter what, Krishna is there to protect them, even if they went. Their faith was more like the gopis, because the gopis went in the middle of the night and they didn't really, nothing really. They were not afraid of any animals in the, that might attack them in the forest or anything like that. They were fully surrendered. The same way the Brahmana Patnis were fully surrendered, whereas their husbands, the Brahmanas, although they realized Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they were still not fully surrendered to him, and they didn't have that faith that, if they went to see him and paid obeisances to him, they would be protected. They were worried about Kansa because they were still not fully surrendered.
Yeah, that's right. So we can learn from this that there's different degrees of surrender. So they've made some progress in this past time. First, they didn't even know that Krishna was the Lord, that they would surrender to him. Yeah. So they've got over that hurdle. Now they're feeling apologetic. Now another obstacle is there, that they're afraid of Kamsa, and so they still don't want to surrender completely. So there's still an obstacle for them to surrender. So there's degrees of our surrender to Krishna, our faith, degrees of our faith in Krishna. So in that way, it's interesting because unlike other religions, Krishna consciousness is actually very scientific. Bhakti is actually very scientific. It's not just sentimental. See, with many religions we see in the world, their understanding is you just believe in God. That's all, just do a ritual and God will help you. This is kind of the message that's given. But in Krishna Bhakti, we can see that it really is down to the individual's heart, how clean and pure the heart is, how much one's heart is devoted to Krishna. And just to that degree, will achieve Krishna at the end of life. So it's actually an individual offering we can all have to Krishna. So they were afraid of Kamsa, even though they know Krishna was the Supreme Lord. Still, they were afraid of just an ordinary king in the world. Not an ordinary king, a very powerful king, but still, they were afraid. So it just shows their level of surrender wasn't really full. So this concludes this chapter now. Is there any questions or comments of what we read today or in the previous weeks? Okay, we can continue to the next chapter then, which is chapter 24, Worshipping Govardhan Hill. So, Jacob Prabhu, would you like to continue?
Yeah. Worshipping Govardhan Hill, while engaged with the Brahmins who were too much involved in the performance of the Vedic sacrifices, Krishna and Balram also saw that the cowherd men were preparing a similar sacrifice in order to pacify Indra, the king of heaven, who is responsible for supplying water. As stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, a devotee of Krishna has strong and firm faith in the understanding that if he is simply engaged in Krishna consciousness and Krishna's transcendental loving service, then he is free from all other obligations. A pure devotee of Lord Krishna doesn't have to perform any of the ritualistic functions enjoined in the Vedas, nor is he required to worship any demigods. Being a devotee of Lord Krishna, one is understood to have performed all kinds of Vedic rituals and all kinds of worship to the demigods. One does not develop devotional service for Krishna by performing the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies or worshipping the demigods, but it should be understood that one who is engaged fully in the service of the Lord has already fulfilled all Vedic injunctions. In order to establish
No.
certain...
Just pause there, Prabhu.
Okay.
Thank you. So this is just introducing the next chapter now. And which people are again at the beginning of this chapter? Who's involved in this sacrifice now?
It's all the Brahmins.
The Brahmanas.
That's right. So actually, this pastime is a continuation from the previous one. So as we said, the Brahmanas are not fully surrendered. So Krishna is going to do something more now to increase their surrender. Yeah. So the cowherd men had engaged these Brahmanas because they were Vedic Brahmanas. They were going to do ritualistic sacrifices. So the cowherd men were going to engage them in more ritualistic sacrifices to Indra. Yeah. But as it says here, it said here that a devotee of Krishna has strong and firm faith in the understanding that if he is simply engaged in Krishna consciousness and Krishna's transcendental loving service, then he's freed from all other obligations. So this is important because this is what Krishna wants to still teach the Brahmanas. That you can do your sacrifice, but don't do it for anyone else. Do it for me. Krishna will engage them in devotional service now. He will engage them in a devotional sacrifice. That's different to the ritualistic sacrifice they were doing previously. So they started off doing the same thing in this pastime. And Krishna is going to just change the motivation for them. Okay? So Prabhu, if you'd like to continue.
In order to stop all such activities by his devotees, Krishna wanted to firmly establish exclusive devotional service during his presence in Vrindavan, because he is omniscient personality of Godhead. Krishna knew that the cowherd men were preparing for the Indra sacrifice, but as a matter of etiquette, he began to inquire with great honor and submission from the elder personalities like Maharaj Nanda.
Okay. So there's three words which are very important in this paragraph, or few actually. Krishna wanted to firmly establish exclusive devotional service. So Krishna has got a lesson in mind here in this very beginning of this chapter. There's a clue as to why Krishna does this huge pastime. Yeah. The Govardhan Puja, one might say, is probably one of the most famous pastimes of Krishna, isn't it? Yeah. You ask anyone, have you heard of Krishna? Anyone who's heard of Krishna, who is Krishna? Oh, Krishna, he picks up the Govardhan hill. If anyone is to know a pastime of Krishna, certainly they would know this one. This is one of Krishna's most famous or most popular pastimes, isn't it? Huh? So, but why? What is Krishna really trying to teach through this pastime? He's trying to teach exclusive devotional service. Yeah. So there's actually, we may have all heard this pastime many times before, I'm sure. But the lessons of this pastime are really very profound. Krishna is trying to teach something called Ananya Bhakti. Huh? Krishna says it even in Bhagavad Gita in chapter 9, text 22. Ananyas chintayanto mam yajana paripashyate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. So this same thing from Bhagavad Gita 9:22, Krishna is trying to teach in this pastime. What is that? He says, those who are always worshipping me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So again, Krishna uses that same word, exclusive devotion, Ananya Bhakti. Exclusive. So Krishna doesn't want devotion 50%, 60%, 70, 80, 90%. Krishna wants 100% devotion. That's what he wants to teach from this pastime. Yeah. Okay, Prabhu.
Krishna asks his father, my dear father, what is the arrangement going on for this great sacrifice? What is the result of such a sacrifice, and for whom is it meant? How is it performed? Will you kindly let me know? I'm very eager to know this procedure. So please explain to me the purpose of this sacrifice. Upon this inquiry, his father Nanda Maharaj remained silent, thinking that his young boy would not be able to understand the intricacies of performing the yajna. Krishna, however, persisted, my dear father, for those who are liberal and saintly, there is no secrecy. They do not think anyone to be a friend, an enemy, or a neutral party, because they are always open to everyone. And even for those who are not so liberal, nothing should be kept secret from the family members and friends. Although secrecy may be manipulated, may be maintained for persons who are inimical, therefore you cannot keep any secrets from me. All persons are engaged in fruitive activities. Some know what these activities are, and they know the results, and some execute activities without knowing the purpose or the result. A person who acts with full knowledge gets the full result. One who acts without knowledge does not get such a perfect result. Therefore, please let me know the purpose of the sacrifice you are going to perform. Is it according to Vedic instruction, or is it simply a popular ceremony? Kindly let me know in detail about the sacrifice.
So in this paragraph, the pastime is really beginning now. It begins with Krishna asking his father. And what's interesting here is the way that Krishna asks. How do you think Krishna approaches his father? What do you think of that, how we read Krishna approached his father?
Quite humbly.
Yeah. Okay, so what can we learn from that? So in the previous paragraph, it said that Krishna began to inquire with great honor and submission. So this is, or humbly, as you said, Prabhu. He was very humble. Yeah. So Krishna already had a lesson in mind for what he was going to do in this pastime, but still he didn't outrightly go and say, "You should all worship me." You know, Krishna's not that kind of God. Exclusive devotion only. Huh? So Krishna consciousness isn't like that. You can tell someone 50 times, you can beat them on the head with a book, but that doesn't actually cause surrender in the heart. So Krishna never teaches us in that way. And we can see here, Krishna is like so humbly going to his father. Father, what kind of sacrifice are you doing? What kind of questions does Krishna ask here? There's a few questions that Krishna asks his father.
His father that, there should be no secrecy between the family members. And he's also saying that, um, I think he's just telling him indirectly not to do that because, it's more of a creative activity doing the sacrifice.
Yeah, although he doesn't say it directly, Krishna is just
Mm.
asking questions, He's trying to see how his father's understanding is. Huh? He's just saying, so father, what kind of sacrifice are you doing? And how is it performed? And who is it for? And what will the result be? And what's all the arrangements you're making? So he's just asking it as a simple little boy. So that his father doesn't spoil the relationship with his father. You see? Krishna consciousness is very much about relationship with Krishna. Is the most important thing. So he doesn't want to spoil that relationship with his father. So he asks in a very childish and inquisitive way. And then his father just dismisses him a little bit, right? So Krishna he's very clever as well. And then as my mom said already that Krishna says, don't keep any secrets from me. We shouldn't keep any secrets in the family, should we? Huh? So he's imploring his father to, cough up. What are you doing?
Also, the way Krishna asks, like he doesn't know anything.
Yeah. Yeah, he
He's
knows exactly what's going on. But he's
an
asking.
innocent child,
Yeah. So it's actually very sweet, you see. He keeps that very sweet kind of relationship with his father.
At the same time, the way he asks, very respectfully.
Yeah. So we as devotees, we may have experience where we're trying to share Krishna consciousness with others or teach other people something about Krishna bhakti. Yeah. And this is a very nice way. Krishna is teaching us how to go about it. Huh? So what is it that you do in your life? What kind of spiritual practices do you have? What is the benefit of that? How do you practice, and how does it connect with other parts of your life? Do you feel any benefit? We can ask people when we speak to them. And it's a very nice way to teach others and share Krishna with others. First, try and understand the person. What is it? Where are they, in their life, and where are they in their heart space and their spiritual practice? Instead of just saying, Krishna consciousness is the best, Japamala, 16 rounds, ego. No, it doesn't work like that, you see. It has to come from that person's own heart. And so Krishna is teaching us, actually, how to help others. Really how to help others to become Krishna's devotee. Because if we really feel this is going to, if we really feel it benefits me, Krishna Bhakti benefits me, then certainly it will benefit others. And then if we want to benefit others, then how do we go about it? This is the way.
Yeah, also when you talk to people about Krishna consciousness, you make sure you don't force them.
Yeah.
And first you find the background and you glorify their background. Doesn't matter it's right or wrong.
Yes.
Right? Because you say that, okay, that's fine for your own interest, for day-to-day life, but there is something higher than that.
Yeah.
The way.
Did everyone get that? Yeah. Prabhu made a really important point.
Yeah. And also you can add, you don't have to believe if you don't want to. You know what I mean? But this is like there is something higher than that, and this is awareness. And I like to tell you. Then person prepared, ready to listen at least, That's important thing.
Yes. See, always it must come from it has to, bhakti, it comes from one's own desire, you know. Otherwise, it will just be like the brahmanas who are doing a ritual.
Yeah.
So we want to implore the person to desire Krishna. Yeah, this is actually real service to Krishna. This is real seva, that we can turn someone's heart towards Krishna. This is a very nice service. It's very pleasing to Krishna.
And Krishna is also saying here, as well, are we just following rituals? Are we just doing it because it's always been done? One must try and understand why you're doing it. What's the benefit of it? So, one should have the knowledge. Then you'll actually get full benefit of what you're doing.
Yeah, really important point that you pulled out there, Prabhu. Yeah, a person who acts with full knowledge gets the full result. One who acts without knowledge does not get such a perfect result. Huh? Can you think of how that's applicable in other areas of your life, where you've done something without really knowing why and what happened, and then if you understood why, then what might have happened?
Yeah, exams.
Yeah, okay.
So you have, so I didn't like chemistry at all. So I just used to just learn the formulas without really understanding. And then when I forgot the formulas, I didn't get the results. You wouldn't get maximum or good results. Whereas topics or subjects which I really liked, I would automatically want to learn them. And I got way better marks in those subjects as opposed to, marks in my chemistry. It's only because, for one, I had the desire to learn, whereas for the other, I was learning only because I wanted to learn. It was part of my curriculum and I just had to do it.
Great example,
Very much.
Charlie. Thank you. Does anyone else have examples in their life where you felt, or maybe even not yourself, or if you know someone, or if you knew two people, one person did it with knowledge, one person did something without knowledge, how it all panned out?
Well, I mean, like most Hindu families, I suppose, we were all brought up worshipping everybody, demigods, Krishna, Ram, everybody. But nobody gave us the understanding why we're doing it. Because the parents and their grandparents did it, we just followed suit without really understanding. And that's still the case now as well with most Hindu families, They go to the temple, they go and do the deity worship, but that's about it. There's no knowledge gained, or even people haven't got the interest to even try and inquire why we're doing it. The current generation of people are asking these questions, and like my kids ask me why we're doing it. Well, we've always done it, but it's after coming into KC. And you start getting the inquiring mind, then you start asking questions to say, well, what's the reason for doing this? What are the benefits, or what are the pitfalls? And you still go to all the Sanatan mandirs and you still go and pay your obeisances, but the reason you're doing it now is they're demigods and they're not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So your mindset is different. And also, when you visit all these pilgrimage places, it adds something towards what you've been learning. So that's quite good.
Yeah, I like the final example you made as well. So generally, in our Hinduism culture, then you'll find people are not really convinced about what they're doing or even know why. And then you said, like, even if you go to places of pilgrimage, you gave a nice example there as well. We can go to these places and they say, take a bath here. Okay, I had a shower in the morning already. Why I need to take another bath? Go and have a dip in the holy water. Okay, then I'll just do it. You do it, and then you don't get the full result. Actually, they say if you bathe in the Ganges, then you get purified of all your sins from all your lifetimes. But if you don't know really how or why, the special purity of the Mother Ganga, then you won't get the real benefit actually of bathing in the water. But you will just be like any other bath. So yeah.
There was
Anyone
a
else?
TV program, I think, probably last year, where a girl from the UK, she went to India and then she was taken to the middle of River Ganges, and I mean, she was just asked to, or she was actually on the banks, and then she was asked to take a dip, and then she could not bring herself to do that. And then and she actually felt guilty because everyone told her, you know, if you've come here, you have to take a bath and then you're purified, etc., etc. But then she was trying to rationalize, like a Western girl, as to why should I do this, you know.
Yeah.
Especially because, you know, the riverbank, it's full of dirt over here, and so many people are bathing over here. I don't feel clean. How can I feel clean by bathing in this water? What's the rationale? So it's exactly as you said. If you don't feel it from inside, if you do not know the reason as to why something is being done, you can do it a million times and it still won't give you the result, the desired result.
That's right. And people do bathe at the Ganges the millions of times. People who live by the Ganges turn on the shower. That's Ganga. The Ganga Jal is falling on your head directly every day, isn't it? Being from Calcutta, you know, then you have
Yeah, I mean, every time in Calcutta, so if you go to a temple, so in one of the temples, the Ganges, some of the water comes there. So even if you don't bathe over there, you at least have to dip your toes, just touch the water, which has become a ritual. Which I mean, even I do that. But yes, it's different when you actually know as to why you're doing it.
Yeah. So anyway, the story, if you want to go and find out about Ganga, it comes from the Srimad Bhagavatam, the pastime of Vamandev. Lord Vamandev, he brought the Ganges to earth. So let us continue reading.
In the Mother
Yes,
Ganges, instead of touching your toe, according to my knowledge, better to take a little bit of water in your hand and put it on your head for the purification.
Yeah. I mean, we do that at home, don't we, before we start with our worship? Yeah, we just sprinkle a bit of Ganga water on us. Yeah.
So there's another area in the temple where they wash their feet when they come in. So that's just for cleaning the feet. There's like a little, like a shallow. There's an area to come into the temple because in previous times people would walk barefoot and therefore they'd have dusty feet, and so they would wash their feet before coming in.
Yeah, washing the feet before you enter the temple means you, whatever the unearth has in your feet, you know, from the ground, it doesn't go in the temple.
Yeah.
So, especially, not every temple has got that facility, but I remember Jagannath temple has, like a cone, you know, and you just wash and then. Also, my Guru Maharaj always said, when you see a lot of different personalities in a Hindu temple or any temple, you got to know their positions. And you have to worship or respect them according to their positions. Because otherwise you are trying to change their positions, and that's an offense.
Yeah, that's a nice point, Prabhu. That we sometimes we see that either extreme is there. On one extreme, people don't want to accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord. And then on the other extreme, there may be devotees of Krishna, but they, it's so extreme that they just offend or disregard the demigods.
Yeah.
That's also not right. So this pastime will teach us the balance. Govardhan Hill pastime will teach us the balance. How we can have exclusive devotion to Krishna, Ananya Bhakti, and at the same time, we can appreciate the devas for who they really are.
Because my Guru Maharaj always said, their position, they are given by Krishna, not you. So you got no right to change their position.
Yeah. So let's continue then. Who's reader number 2? My mom.
Your mom.
Okay.
On hearing this inquiry from Krishna, Maharaj Nanda replied, "My dear boy, this ceremonial performance is more or less traditional. Because rainfall is due to the mercy of King Indra and the clouds are his representatives, and because water is so important for our living, we must show our gratitude to the controller of this rainfall, Maharaj Indra. We are arranging, therefore, to pacify King Indra because he has very kindly sent us clouds to pour um, down a sufficient quantity of rain for successful agricultural activities. Water is very important. Without rainfall, we cannot farm or produce grain, and without grain, we cannot live. Therefore, rain is necessary for successful religious ceremonies, economic development, and ultimately liberation. So we should not give up the traditional ceremonial function. If one gives it up, being influenced by lust, greed, or fear, then it does not look very good for him.
So now Nanda Maharaj is answering Krishna as to why he's performing the sacrifice. Okay, so we should know, of course, first of all, that Nanda Maharaj isn't, of course, an ordinary human being. He's an eternal associate of Krishna. Huh? He is Krishna's devotee. He does worship Vishnu or Krishna as his Ishtadev, as his Lord. However, for the sake of this pastime, he's appearing like slightly like a materialistic person, or an ignorant person. In the same way, in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, he acted like he didn't know. Krishna put him in this Leela where he didn't know what he should do, that he should surrender to Krishna. So in the same way, in this Leela, Nanda Maharaj, he's going to perform this sacrifice. And he gives some reasons. He says it's traditional, and we just want to show our gratitude. These are the words that he's using. A ceremonial function. So even though he knows that Indra is not the all in all, he doesn't say here. His answer isn't even to that extreme that we owe everything to Indra. He's not at that extreme. He's just saying we're just doing this as a ceremony, as just tradition.
Why does he say? Why does he use the word pacify Indra? Because it doesn't say anywhere in the paragraph that Indra is angry. It's just a ritual that happens every year. So why does he use the word pacify? So does that mean that if it's not done, Indra, there has been instances in the past where Indra got angry?
There's many instances, yes. So anyone who knows the nature of Indradev, he has that tendency to become offended, because this is the reason why Krishna is having this pastime with Indra, because of this pride which Indra has, because he's very proud of his position. Any proud person, with a little, how do you say, with a little bit of, showing a little bit of dishonor, a little bit of disrespect, nothing major, then they become extremely furious. We see this in so many pastimes.
I think he's influenced by his power. Yeah. And that's why he always wants us to, he wants to be respected.
Yes, that's a nice way of putting it. Yeah, he has this desire for respect and worship, you see. So Krishna wants to kind of just tease that out of him. Although he is a great devotee, that's a fact. But there's still this little bit of honor that he wants for being a great personality. And so, they just have to do that, just keep him pacified, okay, yeah, you are a great devotee, we accept that, fine, have your ceremony, we appreciate what you're doing, we have gratitude. But if they just take that little bit away from him, one small village in Bharat, and then Indra becomes extraordinarily mad. Yeah. So you just see the scale of it, why they have to pacify him. Anyone else would like to share?
Haribo,
Hare Krishna.
it's David.
David. Hare Krishna.
Hey, Haribo.
Good to
Thank
see
you
you.
for
Good to
coming
hear
to
you.
join us today. Yeah, I was thinking there's attachments or expectations for the annual ceremony to occur. And then his ego, just like all of us, has come here to enjoy. So even though they're demigods, they're still very much in the...
I'm getting a bit of echo from you.
So we'll try.
Say that again, sorry?
Is that better?
Oh yeah, much better now, yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, I was just saying, the demigods are no different to us, really. They've all come here to the material world to enjoy. And I think they're still covered by the three modes, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah. They're predominantly in the mode of goodness, which means they're a little bit proud because they're always doing the right thing. They have a lot of knowledge about the universe. They have a lot of freedom in the universe. They're not so entangled. And therefore, they're a little bit proud of that. Yeah.
But the egoic nature is still there, isn't it? To enjoy separately from the world as well.
A little bit, yeah. Okay. Let's have our next reader then. Well, actually, Mum, if you want to just continue, that'd be great.
Continue. For somebody
Yeah,
else.
if you do read one more. You want to read one more? I can hand it over to someone.
After hearing this, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the presence of his father and all the elder coward men of Vrindavan, spoke in such a way as to make the heavenly king Indra very angry. He suggested that forego the sacrifice. His reasons for discouraging the sacrifice performed to please Indra were twofold. First, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, there is no need to worship the demigods for any material advancements. All results derived from worshipping the demigods are simply temporary, and only those who are less intelligent are interested in temporary results. Second, whatever temporary result one derives from worshipping the demigod is actually granted by the permission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is clearly stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Mayavya Vahita Hitan. Whatever benefit is supposed to be derived from the demigods is actually bestowed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without the permission of Supreme Personality of Godhead, one cannot bestow any benefit upon others. But sometimes the demigods become puffed up by the influence of material nature. Thinking themselves all in all, they forget the supremacy of the personality of Godhead. In Srimad Bhagavatam, it is clearly stated that in this instance, Krishna wanted to make King Indra angry. Krishna's advent was specially meant for the annihilation of the demons and protections of the devotees. King Indra was certainly a devotee, not a demon, but because he was puffed up, Krishna wanted to teach him a lesson. He first made Indra angry by stopping the Indra Puja, which had been arranged by the coward men in Vrindavan.
Right. So at the beginning of this paragraph, so Srila Prabhupada is quoting heavily from Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, he's purporting Krishna's approach. Specifically, Krishna makes these statements in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, in text 22 and 23. Krishna makes very strong, very heavy statements about demigod worship, worshipping demigods as being, improper, and with good reason as well. So we'll discuss that. Krishna says in text 22 of the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, text 22. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desire. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Yeah. So Prabhupada has quoted that Mayava Vitan Hitan. Now, Krishna is the one who actually gives the result of anything we do. So much to the extent that he said in other places that even a blade of grass won't move without the permission of the Supreme Lord. Even for grass to move, to waver in the wind, cannot be possible if God doesn't grant that ability in the grass to move. So what to speak of, like fulfilling our material desires and achieving all the different things we want in this world. And then
So
there's
what about the rain then, Prabhuji? So Indra gives rain to, for the benefit of the villagers. So again, granting them the wish of having rain, is that a permission granted by Lord Krishna, or did Indra, or does Indra have the power in him to do that?
Yes, good question. So this typically comes up in this chapter. This kind of questions. It will be covered in a lot of detail later on. So we'll go into that later. But just to summarize, so Krishna gives Indra the power. Krishna invests his own power in Indra. He empowers Indra so that Indra is able to give rain or not give rain. And Indra has to follow that order. So just like in government, you have the head of the government and then all the ministers. Yeah. So the ministers, they all work under the prime minister. Yeah. So that's one way of explaining. Then later in this paragraph, so Prabhupada makes strong statements. He says that they forget the supremacy of the personality of Godhead because of the material, because of material thinking. So Krishna is performing this pastime, especially to make Indra angry. Yeah, because he's going to show him how his anger leads him into trouble so many times. And so in the next text in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada is also quoting. He says, "Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet." Okay, so the reason that Krishna is enacting this pastime is because Krishna wants to show that his position is not, amongst the demigods. Krishna is not just another one of the demigods. Krishna is not even just a higher demigod. There's this concept of Deva, Upadeva. So Krishna is not even a higher personality in the universe. Krishna wants to show in this pastime that he's a completely transcendental Supreme Lord. The definition of God is actually one who there is no equal and no competitor. Krishna wants to show this in the pastime, that I am really God. There's nobody equal to me, and I have no competitor. No one can come close. And therefore, Indra gets angry as a result. So, any thoughts or comments on that? Questions?
I think basically what Krishna is saying is like if you water the root, Prabhupada says it in Bhagavad Gita that if you water the root of the tree, the water goes everywhere. So basically, if you're worshipping Krishna, indirectly you're worshipping all the demigods. I mean, until I came to Krishna consciousness, I didn't have this knowledge, and I used to worship, you name it, everybody. And basically, that's what I used to do. And now realizing that, what I did was, I mean, it helped me a lot in Krishna consciousness. As Prakash was saying that, all the Hindu families, you have the same tradition that you just follow, and you don't know the reason. And until you come to Krishna consciousness, you don't ask any questions. And the way the purports in Gita and Bhagavatam are so nicely describing everything, you get a lot of knowledge simply by Prabhupada presenting us to so nicely everything, which I think, you don't get it in a lot of temples. So I quite often think that, all the ISKCON temples are more like, although they're temples, but they also at the same time colleges and teaching institution for a lot of people, which a lot of people who have got a background but don't know exactly what the real reason we are doing things. So, and plus you can always approach anybody who got more knowledge than us, who are always willing and 100% giving whatever they have, explaining it to us and giving examples. So it's really a learning institute. ISKCON is a very nice learning institute where you can connect into any ISKCON in anywhere in the world, and you can feel like a family. I mean, once I was traveling, I used to travel a lot to India on my own, and I was traveling from, I think it was from Delhi to Calcutta, and I saw somebody with a tilak, and we just started talking, and he was from Canada, and our flight was delayed, and we didn't know when it was going or anything, but it was just nice because, we were both going to Mayapur and our taxis were booked in at the same time, and we were wondering whether, we will get, if the driver is going to be still there because it was quite delayed. And he was on a standby as well, like me. But it's just nice to, you can actually, if you see somebody with tilak and somebody at any airport, you can, you just feel that connection that, you are a family. And I, quite often traveling, I found that, Prabhupada's really like created such a big one family through the world and such a nice institution for us to learn from everybody.
Yeah, what Prabhupada achieved in just 11 years, people cannot even do in lifetimes, isn't it? So extraordinary what Prabhupada achieved. It's, even from a materialistic point of view, it's just impossible. Like, if anyone to do something, go to a country with no money and then open hundreds of temples around the world. It's just, even from a materialistic point of view, it's just, even from a business, like completely materialistic point of view, completely like a business point of view, you have no money, and then Prabhupada had all these temples, all these most beautiful buildings, castles and palaces, around the world as temples. Even this Bhaktivedanta Manor, listed grade 1 listed building. Prabhupada was given it for £1. So we have a home everywhere in the world like that. Such an extraordinary thing Prabhupada did.
I like to say something about Indra's power. Right,
Yes.
Indra has got power to give us a rain or not, right? But
Yes.
same time, instead of worshipping Indra, and you worship Krishna directly, performing ceremonies, Indra has got no power to interfere. That's my understanding.
Yeah, that will very much come across in this pastime.
Yeah.
So yeah, what Krishna is doing. So the Brahmanas, the Brahmanas and their wives, which we read about in the previous pastime, he's engaging those same Brahmanas to do the same sacrifice, which was going to be done for Indra on behalf of Nanda Maharaj. He's getting them to do the same sacrifice for Govardhan Hill. So it's just like, I'm making a meal for you. I'm cook. I'm making a meal for you. And I've made the meal. It's here on the plate. And then I give it to him. Yeah? And it's a delicious meal that is here. It's ready on the plate. You're sitting there at the table waiting for it. And I come to the table. Instead of putting it in front of your chair, I put it in front of his chair. So then Indra gets furious. The sacrifice is all the ingredients are collected. Everything's ready to go. And Krishna just comes along. Dad, what is it that we're doing today? And everything changes. Yeah. So of course Indra is going to be furious by this.
Well, it's like in the temple we cook for Krishna, and that's only for Krishna, right? And then we have as a prasad. But when we cook for congregation, still we offer to Krishna and then give it to congregation.
Yeah. Yes.
Otherwise, aim is to cook for congregation, right? And you cook accordingly, right? 200 people, 300 people. But again, you offer to Krishna first and then give it to congregation.
Yes. That's it. Yeah. So they were going to cook and on this sacrifice, as we're going to read, and they were going to cook and make offering to Indra. This yagya was going to be for Indra, but they just changed it. So Krishna changed it so it would be offered to Govardhan Hill. So
Shivratri, so the food is first offered to Krishna, isn't it? And then it's offered to Lord Shiva, because Krishna is the ultimate enjoyer.
yeah.
And then also when we so we have Lakshmi Puja, Saraswati Puja. So all the time the food is first offered to Krishna,
Yep.
and then offered to the demigods after that.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine.
But yeah, but I didn't know that before. I mean, it's only recently after coming into KC that I've come to know that.
So if you go to Jagannath Temple, there's a very good example there, because they offer the bhog to Lord Jagannath, Chapan bhog, yeah, huge feast every day, 52 preps. Then they offer that to Bimala Devi, who is goddess Durga. So then it becomes known as Bimala Prasad. Huh? So it's famous there as Bimala Prasad. Actually, our spiritual master, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, his name was Bimala Prasad. Is that right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes, that's right.
So we know, like, so we're getting that mercy double. We're getting it from Jagannath and then from Bimala Devi. So
It becomes Mahaprasad, isn't it?
that's why it's called Mahamaprasad. Yeah, that's why.
I mean, the only thing which I do not understand is why Lord Ganesha is worshipped before any puja. So that's but probably that's for another different time to explain. Yeah, but that's my query when it comes to worshipping demigods. Because Lord Ganesha is also he's a devotee of Narasimha Dev, isn't it? So then why not offer to Narasimha Dev or Lord Krishna? But why is Lord Ganesh first worshipped before any auspicious thing or any puja?
He is given that role to play like other demigods, Indra, and
removing the obstacles.
Yeah. So he's given a job to do that, or you can say role to play. Sorry, by Krishna.
Okay, so he does that as a service to Krishna.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot that can be said about that. But yeah, it's a big topic, so we'll keep that for another session. Sure. Actually, you cannot even invoke the yagya without invoking Lord Vishnu as Yagyapati, as the Lord of the yagya. So once the yagya is there, then you remove all obstacles, then you start the actual yagya, that you actually start the ceremony of the yagya. But you have to first invoke the yagya, which means calling Vishnu. So even then, in that situation, Vishnu is called first. If you ask a Vaishnav priest, that will be the way it's done. So let's move on to the next paragraph then and have our next reader. Who is a volunteer to read next? Panchali, yeah.
Okay. So with this purpose in mind, Krishna began to talk as if he were an atheist, supporting the philosophy of karma mimamsa. Yeah. Advocates of this philosophy do not accept the supreme authority of the personality of Godhead. They put forward the argument that if anyone works nicely, the result is sure to come. Their opinion is that even if there is a God who gives man the result of his fruitive activities, there is no need to worship him, because unless man works, he cannot bestow any good result. They say that instead of worshipping a demigod or god, people should give attention to their own duties, and thus the good result will surely come. Lord Krishna began to speak to his father according to these principles of the Karma Mimamsa philosophy. My dear father, he said, I don't think you need to worship any demigod for the successful performance of your agricultural activities. Every living being is born according to his past karma and leaves this life simply taking the result of his present karma. Everyone is born in different types of species of life according to his past activities, and he gets his next birth according to the activities of this life. Different grades of material happiness and distress, comforts and disadvantages of life are different results of different kinds of activities from either the past or present life.
Thank you. So the first thing we can see here is that in the spectrum of Vedic teachings, there are different philosophies. Yeah. The Vedas accommodate for all types of people, all types of desires. We've spoken a lot about Hinduism today. So Hinduism accommodates for all different types of philosophies, which is why it becomes very confusing and complicated. What to speak of for others, but even for Hindus, is very confusing. Why we do things, what this is for, because there's actually many different philosophies in Vedant, in the Vedas. So one of them is called Karma Mimamsa. Yeah. So did anyone catch it? What it means, Karma Mimamsa, in a sentence? Huh? From what we read just now.
So every action have a reaction for this life into past life, or from past life into this life.
Right, yeah. So everything is dependent on karma. Yeah. So whatever we've done in the past is going to affect us now. Whatever we do now is going to affect us in the future. So that's not a wrong thing. Yeah. It's true, but it's not the complete picture. Yeah. So karma mimamsa basically means that karma is king. Karma is the supreme. Everything happens by karma. Or in other words, everything is destined. There's not much room for, there's not much scope for desire and free will. You just do your duty, and whatever you're supposed to get, you'll get. And that's the way of the world. So a couple of interesting things about this. So one is that if you only tell a half truth, it's said to be as bad as telling a lie. If you only tell half the truth. Have you heard this? Maybe it's a Bengali saying, I'm not sure. Right?
No. I mean, yeah, I've heard it. Yes.
Yeah. Like if you say a half truth, it's as bad as telling a lie. So this is the understanding that many of us have of the Vedic scriptures. Half truth. Someone said do this. Someone said do that. And no one really knows what
Also,
is
the
wrong.
having half knowledge is worse than having no knowledge at all. I mean, it's more dangerous rather. The Bengali saying says having half a knowledge is more dangerous than having no knowledge at all.
Yeah, that's it. If you teach someone how to use a gun, but you don't teach them how to be a responsible shooter, that's more dangerous, isn't it? So we see, like, in the world, as Krishna consciousness is spreading, those who know nothing about Vedic background, who know nothing about Hindu culture, they excel so quickly in Krishna consciousness. because they don't have all of this previous misconceptions. Prabhupada once gave the example, if you want to teach piano, if you want to go to a good piano teacher, they will ask you, have you played piano before? If you say yes, price is double, because he has to unteach you everything before he can start to teach you from the basics again. Huh? So Prabhupada gives this example. So it's better to know nothing and start from, what is the goal of life, and then how do I get there? Everything else is related to that. As if you come with like, I heard this and I heard that, and how does this work and how does that fit in? And hold on. Forget all that. Start here. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is, so we're just progressing this conversation between Krishna and Nanda Maharaj, right? So Krishna is saying to Nanda Maharaj, why are you performing this sacrifice, Father? And then Father says, it's just a tradition, it's a ritual. And then Krishna gives this answer. This is how he's speaking to his father. Again, Krishna is not boisterous. He doesn't come outright and say, that's all rubbish. Just worship me. Surrender to me. Sarva dharma prityaja. He doesn't say this to his father. Even with Arjun, Krishna gives, 18 chapters before he says surrender to me. Krishna teaches, yoga, karma, jnana, everything. Then Krishna says sarva dharma prityaja. Then he says surrender. So Krishna is he's dealing with the person based on where they are, isn't it? So Krishna is actually giving as Prabhupada puts it, an atheistic philosophy. Karma is king, karma is supreme. But then Krishna takes him from there and gives him a bit more knowledge. Okay? So Krishna is cultivating that knowledge in him gradually. And this is again important for us as we are sharing Krishna with others, that you start with where somebody is in their life.
Yeah, so what happens, first Krishna gives you choice, and when it comes to the point, you are not getting anywhere, and then Krishna shows you the way, sarva dharma pariteja.
Yes. Krishna gives Arjun so much that he's like, I still don't know what to do. Okay, yeah. Surrender, then everything will be fine.
Krishna sees how far you get confused,
Yes. Yes.
When you want to do something independently.
So that's it. So Krishna is teaching that if anyone works nicely, the result will surely come. That's what Krishna is starting with Nanda Maharaj. And then as we progress with our reading, we'll see where this takes him. Is there anyone else who's reading? Smita Mataji, you want to read the next paragraph?
Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj Nanda and other elder members argued that without satisfying the predominating God, one cannot derive any good results simply by material activities. This is actually the fact. For example, it is sometimes found that in spite of first-class medical help and treatment by a first-class physician, a diseased person dies. It is concluded, therefore, that first-class medical treatment or the attempts of a first-class physician are not in themselves the cause for curing a patient. There must be the hand of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, a father's and mother's taking care of their children is not the cause of the children's comfort. Sometimes it is found that in spite of all care by the parents, the children go bad, or succumb to death. Therefore, material causes are not sufficient for results. There must be the sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nanda Maharaj therefore advocated that in order to get good results for agricultural activities, they must satisfy Indra, the superintending deity of the rain supply. Lord Krishna nullified this argument, saying that the demigods give results only to persons who have executed their prescribed duties. The demigods cannot give any good results to the person who has not executed the prescribed duties. Therefore, demigods are dependent on the execution of duties and are not absolute in awarding good results to anyone. So why should one care about them?
Okay, thank you. So in this paragraph, Nanda Maharaj is giving another response, and then Krishna again responds to him. Okay. So the first response is from Nanda Maharaj here. So after Krishna gives him this karma mimamsa philosophy, after Krishna says, just do your work and that will give you the right result. Yeah. Nanda Maharaj, he's not gonna take that as an argument. He's gonna say, that's nonsense. He says here that without satisfying the person who can give you a result, you won't get what you want. So this Prabhupada says is actual fact. Yeah, these personalities are there in the universe, and they have got power. Yeah. Otherwise, if they had no power, why would Indra come? Why would he send so much rain? Yeah. If it was any ordinary child that they listened to, yeah, and they didn't do that sacrifice, Indra would still come, and he'd still cause all that havoc. But because it was Krishna, yeah, Indra was taught a lesson. Had Krishna not been there, the people who were performing who changed the sacrifice, they would have learned a lesson. Don't disappoint Indra. Huh? So Prabhupada says this is a fact. You must be able to satisfy the person who is fulfilling your desire. So now we have these two philosophies. Yeah. So one is just do your work, and everything will work out. Do your work, it will all work out. Then above that is a higher philosophy which Nanda Maharaj is giving. He's saying just satisfy the person who is awarding you the results, who's giving you the right and the right or wrong result for your work. If you satisfy that person, then you'll get your result. If you're just doing stuff out of just out of ritual, just without knowing why, that's not going to give you as good a result. And Prabhupada, he gives a really good example, right? You can take the right medicine, but still you could be ill, right? So right now the coronavirus, there is a what do you call what the word now?
Vaccine.
Vaccine. Yeah, slip my mind. There is a vaccine available, yeah, but still people are getting ill. There's still side effects and so on. Of course, it's rare. So Prabhupada writes here that even if there's a first-class medical treatment, still the patient may not survive. I'm not saying this in specific to coronavirus, just general principle. That there could be like first-class treatment, someone survives or someone doesn't survive. So the result isn't up to the medical practitioner or the medicine given. They may both be correct, but if that person's time to go, it's their time to go, and there's no one that can say anything to change anything, So it's important to please the person who is giving you the result. That's all that Nanda Maharaj is saying here. Okay. So there was that philosophy of karma mimamsa, and then there's this philosophy of satisfying the person who gives the result. And now Krishna on top of that gives another philosophy, which is something more. So he's building up the stakes in this debate. So what does Sri Krishna say here? Did anyone catch Krishna's point at the end here? In the last few sentences? I'll just give you a moment to have a look.
It's demigods giving results to people who executed their prescribed duties.
Yeah, just the last like sentence or two sentences. Krishna gives an answer to Nanda Maharaj is you have to satisfy the person if you want the right result.
Krishna is saying that even the demigods don't give the good
Not able to
result.
hear you because maybe your microphone's far away.
Krishna is saying that even the demigods cannot give you the good the benefit if you're not doing your prescribed duties. So even if you went to the demigods and if you weren't doing the prescribed duties, you will not get the benedictions from demigods either. And therefore the demigods are dependent on if you have executed the duties. And even then, the last result is up to Krishna because he's the ultimate. And even if they perform the good duties, if the result is ultimately on Krishna, that if he doesn't want to give that benediction, the person will not get it. So indirectly, the power is coming from Krishna.
Yeah, so Krishna first states what he already said. He said the demigods won't give you anyway if you don't do your duty, right? So it's like, if you're at school and you're studying and then you just can't be bothered to study, but you think, I know what to do. I'll just give loads of treats to my teacher. I'll bring her flowers every day. I'll give her apple. I'll, bring her cakes and sweets. Then I'll pass the exam, right? I'm just pleasing the person without doing my duty. Will that work? No. So Krishna first said just do your duty because duty is supreme. Huh? Then Maharaj Nanda, he said that no, if you satisfy the person then you will get a better result. But Krishna is saying no, you still have to do your duty and then you can satisfy the person. Just satisfying the person is not enough. You need both. And then Krishna says another thing here in the last part of the sentence. He says, even if you satisfy the person, that person is not independent. So you could do your duty. You could study hard in your exams. And you can give your teacher cakes and biscuits and flowers and chocolates. But that teacher is not the one who's marking your paper. It'll be some other teacher, right? It'll be the head teacher or whatever. So Krishna is saying that the demigods are not independent. This is the point. Yeah.
So basically, doesn't matter how much you do. Doesn't matter what you do and how much you do, but still, you need Krishna's mercy.
Yes. Yes. So we can see how this is very applicable to Krishna consciousness as well, as Prabhu's pointed out. That we could, as devotees, right, we could just say, Krishna will take care, I chant my 16 rounds, I do my arati, I do my service nicely, But unless we actually depend on Krishna, unless we're actually surrendering to Krishna, then Krishna will take care. As we read in that previous verse from Bhagavad Gita, so that was in 7:22. If someone desires to worship a particular demigod and attains his desires, these desires are actually benefits bestowed by me. Yeah. So even it applies to Krishna, that we can worship Krishna, but we have to. The main thing is the desire that we want to please him. We're doing all the right things because we want to please him. We're not doing all the right things to please him, but I want to get what I want. Yeah. So that end bit has to be taken away. The selfish desire part has to be taken away. So Krishna is known as Lakshmi Pati. So we can go to Krishna and ask, Krishna, please give me all opulences. Please give me, all different wealth and good fortune, because Krishna can give that. But that's not the best thing to ask Krishna, because Krishna he can give more. He can give pure devotional service. Huh? We're not approaching Krishna because we love him. We're approaching him because we love what he's got. You know, Ravan had that mentality too. Huh? He heard that Lord Ram, he had the most beautiful wife Sita. So what did he do? He just went and kidnapped Sita. So he appreciated, actually, yes, Lord Ram, he has got the most opulent, most beautiful, attractive wife. So he went and took her. That's the Ravan mentality. So we will each have a little Ravan in our heart, that we're approaching Krishna because he's God, because he's opulent, because he has everything, and because he can fulfill our desires. So we have to try and take that little Ravan out of our hearts. We have to love Krishna because Krishna is so lovable, and that's all. Actually, we have to fall in love with Krishna. So this is the difference.
Instead of thinking Krishna would take care, Krishna is already taking care.
Krishna is always taking care, yeah.
Yeah, Krishna is already taking care, always taking care. So in appreciation, my duty is to worship him.
Yeah. Our duty is to worship him.
Yeah.
But even more so, we should actually fall in love with him. We should fall in love with Krishna. We should have devotion, bhakti. Yeah. So we can analyze for ourselves in our heart. Why am I doing this? Am I doing it because I love Krishna? And that may not be there right now, okay? Because we may not be so advanced that we simply love Krishna. But we should be aware at least that, I want to be there. I want to get that. Krishna, I want to serve you so that I can love you eventually. One day, I want to fall in love with you, Krishna. Okay, so we're up to 9 o'clock now. So we'll stop here. Is that okay? Is there any final comments or questions? How was that for everyone today? I feel like I've been talking quite a bit
Very
instead of hearing you all.
enlightening. Very enlightening. And as you very rightly said, it's one of the pastimes which is very widely known, but there are so many layers to the pastime. And the more you delve into it, the more you understand, and the better meaning you get out of it.
Yes, Sani, it's a very, very rich pastime. There's so much. This pastime, it spans over so many chapters also. It's amazing. Yeah, very wonderful study of Krishna's teachings, Krishna's Leela. Okay, so unless anyone else would like to comment, then we'll just close with the japa round now. So if you have your japa beads with you, we'll chant one round of japa together.
See you all next week.
Sure, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
See you,
Thanks for
Prabhu.
joining us.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.